let's talk about this Hillary Clinton book.
Right.
We're getting our first
in her own words.
In her own words, right? The book is called What Happened. There are audio excerpts that were provided to MSNBC, and in one of them, she speaks about that second presidential debate, Gabe, in which President Trump was lingering. He walked around the podium as she answered questions.
There were many memes that came out of that.
It was mocked on SNL. Let's take a listen to that.
This is not okay, I thought. It was the second presidential debate, and Donald Trump was looming behind me. 2 days before, the world heard him brag about groping women. Now we were on a small stage, and no matter where I walked, he followed me closely, staring at me, making faces. It was incredibly uncomfortable. He was literally breathing down my neck. My skin crawled. It was one of those moments where you wish you could hit pause and ask everyone watching, well, what would you do? Do you stay calm, keep smiling, and carry on as if he weren't repeatedly invading your space? Or do you turn, look him in the eye, and say loudly and clearly, back up, you creep, get away from me. I know you love to intimidate women, but you can't intimidate me, so back up. I chose option A. I kept my cool, aided by a lifetime of dealing with difficult men trying to throw me off. I did, however, grip the microphone extra hard. I wonder, though, whether I should have chosen option B. It certainly would have been better TV. Maybe I have overlearned the lesson of staying calm, biting my tongue, digging my fingernails into a clenched fist, smiling all the while, determined to present a composed face to the world.
All right, so we all remember that, and if we didn't remember it, we had the images there to go along with what Secretary Clinton was saying. Look, I remember when Al Gore tried to intimidate George W. Bush during the debates back in 2000 for that election, and it was then considered a bad move by the vice president. When President Trump did that during that debate, I thought, uh-oh, this is probably not going to... But it did. It did. People, his supporters liked it. I mean, what do you make of Hillary Clinton's description about that? And do you think that this book will have any real political consequences for Mr. Trump?
You know, Gabe, also, I thought her conclusion about whether, she chose option A, which was to stay calm. And part of her criticism, part of what her critics said about her during the campaign was that she didn't show enough passion. That here you had this, she's going up against Donald Trump, who's kind of at times seems like he's going off the rails, and she is controlled. And this is sort of a little slice of that and what was going through her mind.
Yeah, I think what we heard her talking about was actually a broader critique, as you just said, about the passion that she brought to this over the entire course of the campaign. But there seems to be something strange going on here, if you ask me. I mean, I was at that debate. I covered these debates. And if you remember, her numbers actually got much better after all of these debates. Her lead grew after these debates, even in these ones when people said, well, maybe Donald Trump really won. So it's not as if the next morning Americans said, well, maybe Donald Trump should be president. She had a pretty large lead after that debate. But what she is saying is maybe she should have more broadly, tried to bend the rules or tried to step outside of her comfort zone. That is clearly a critique that a lot of people had about her. And the question of whether this is going to make a political ripple, there's no question that people are going to be reading this really closely, not only in the Trump team, but also within the Democratic Party as they try to move forward.
It's a thin line to walk. I recall when Secretary Clinton was debating then candidate Obama, and he said, you're likable enough. The next day at some campaign event, she had a moment of emotion that did translate into higher numbers for her. Ultimately, she wasn't able to pull it out, as we know, but it's a tough line to walk, especially for
when you're
a
woman.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, Politico's Gabe Debenedetti, as always, my friend, thank you.
Thank you.